This is Ziggy Antonaja here, 4 seconds out. Delighted to be joined by Kalle Sauerland after a victorious Harlem Eubank performance. Brian Kalle, how do you sum that up?
Look, he ticked every box. I think he looked super sharp. I said a word with him in the ring afterwards. After I call it the strange Catterall episode. It was strange for both of them. Let's face it. Fight cut short like that, no one wants to see, and they had big camps going into it. So for him to sign the year off like this, it sets up really good things next year. We saw Lewis Crocker ringside. I think that's a big fight, world title fight out there. I think that can get made. I think there's other fight. We talked about Progress fight, Regis Progress. I'd love to see that fight. No, it was exactly what we needed. Got the rounds in, and roll on 2026 for Harlem Eubank.
When picking Wagner as the opponent, was that the type of performance you expected him to bring, and what did Harlem have to do differently in there to maybe put out a more explosive performance?
Yes, it's a tricky one because don't forget that in the year you want activity. He lost a lot of activity last year through the whole Adam Azim episode, let's call it. So I think we needed an opponent that wasn't going to sort of fall over after a round. And in boxing, anything can happen, we know, but the idea was to get the rounds in and have a tough fight. I think, to be honest, if it was a 12-rounder, I think Harlem would have stopped him. I think after the 8th, he'd sort of taken the wind out of him. And Harlem's great at that, the feints, the jabs, the movement, in and out. But then I don't want to talk too much about the Catterall fight, but people say it was a boring fight. Well, if you look at the fight that Harlem fought tonight, you watch the first half of the fight, and that's what he does. He wears you down, and then he comes on second half of the fight. And if you look at his record, very few stoppages early on. They're all later. So he was robbed of the chance, not by anyone in particular. It was, accidents happen. It's a sport. But the second half of the Catterall fight, of course, we never got to see. So, yeah. Well, we roll on tonight. Was all about was shining, getting him back in, and he'll feel good about that, and it was psychologically so important to get this done tonight.
Yeah, you say roll on 2026. Now that Harlem's got the win, how do you manage him moving forward? Is it maybe an in-between fight like a Regis Progress, or can you throw him in there straight away with a Lewis Crocker for a world title?
I think absolutely Lewis Crocker. That's something that we could do straight away for a world title. I think Harlem's quite fresh in terms of boxing age, but in terms of age, he's no spring chicken. So next year's a big year for him, and that's the fight he'd love if that can get made. If not, there are other options. Regis Progress, one of them would be a good fight. A couple of others out there as well.
Saw Lewis Crocker ringside. Obviously, did you have a little word in his ear potentially about him and Harlem in 26?
Do you know what? I didn't. I saw him at a distance. My brother had a chat with him, and the good thing is, he's not going to hide. I haven't got him here near me at the moment, but Jamie Conlon is the manager of both of them. So it's actually quite an easy fight to make. They seem up for it. I think he's promoted by Matchroom. So, that's a company we work with loads. We've recently just, doing work together now with Josh Kelly as well. So that's sort of, that's a very long, old relationship. That won't be standing in the way of getting that fight made either if everyone wants it, Yeah, I'd love to see it. I think it's a great fight.
Yeah. You mentioned Josh Kelly there, obviously booked to fight Mertz Alive in Newcastle, quality fight. Obviously, see Matchroom's announcement as well that he is working with them now. Can you just talk to me about your position with Josh Kelly and how he's going to be managed moving forwards?
Yeah, I think you just hit the nail on the head. Matchroom's going to be promoting the next fight, and they've got options on the future fights, and we're there still on board with Josh. So it's not new for us to work with Matchroom in that sense. We've done it. I think we did loads with George Groves and Matchroom together as well, and other fight in most recent times, I guess Filip Hrgovic as well. We did it for a long time together as well. So looking very much forward to it again. Forget how all the promotional side of things look. I'm just so excited to watch Josh finally get that chance. He's been patient. He's got the skill set for me to be the next star in British boxing. We talked about it for a number of years. Prior to that, the amateur scene, everyone was talking about Josh Kelly, and now it's sort of you know, it's 31st of January, sort of carpe diem, isn't it? You know.
We saw Mertz alive against Tim Tszyu. I mean, boogeyman of division almost. How much of a chance do you give Josh Kelly in this fight? I mean, it's an upward task, but do you reckon he can do it?
You know, I've seen fights where he looks extremely good. I've seen other fights where I thought he looked pretty average, actually. I think the Jack Kulkai fight in Germany didn't look anything special there. And I promoted Jack Kulkai for years, and you know, he's a very good operator, but that was at the tail end of his career. So, you know, he's got to travel over here. That's the good news. He's a tough guy, but I just think that the skill level of Josh Kelly is the better one, you know. But then it all depends on the night, as we know. But I think Josh is going to. He's waited so patiently for this chance, and him and Adam Booth, formidable team, and I see us crowning a night of absolute glory in the Northeast in January.
Looking forward to watching it. Final one from me before I let you go. Obviously, you had the massive spectacle, Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn last Saturday. Can you just give us your thoughts on how that all went down and Junior's performance as well?
I think clearly, you know, the fight wasn't in the end what everyone was hoping for, which was a repeat of the first fight, which was a fantastic fight. You know, the second one was all about you know, a great performance by Conor Benn, who took advantage totally of Eubank that just didn't turn up for whatever reason. You know, the reason, you know, even in defeat, there's mystery always around Junior, isn't it? Defeat before the fight, there's always mystery around Junior, and I think that's half the stigma with him. You know, what is this references to a camp and what's going on in the camp? Got no idea, but I think when you look at it and you don't know, maybe this sign comes out and, you know, it erased this interview then. And for me, it looked like someone. I can't put it down at the weight, because if you come in a pound under in your last 4 out of your last 6 fights, I just don't put it down at the weight, because also the rehydration. You know, I'll give an example. Everyone's different, but like with George Groves, when he used to cut the weight, the next day he would balloon. You know, absolutely balloon. 2 weight classes coming out cruiserweight, super middleweight limit, and you know, this was something. It didn't look like, you know, if you're making weight and you come to the scale and you know, boxers know what they're going to weigh, and you're a pound under and you killed yourself to make that pound under, you will be looking everywhere for a bottle of water just to get some fluids in you. And that's just the reality of it. That's the reality. I've seen it over many, many years, and that's the reality. So he had a pound that he could have drunk before the weigh-in to come in comfortably on weight. So it doesn't really sound like the markings of someone who was really, you know, sort of struggling to make weight. I think Junior's had an illustrious career. You know, lots of ups, lots of downs. That's boxing. But I do think it was his swan song. You know, I just think that, you know, we talk all about this, you know, going up to super middleweight. I remember when we did the World Boxing Super Series at super middleweight, and I know there's a lot of, it was 6-7 years ago now, but it just doesn't look like the frame can carry that weight after a camp. It's a difference, you know, going out and enjoying yourself and being a super middleweight or a light heavyweight, but having a camp, you know, Junior is he's blessed with an absolute athlete's body. I was going to say like me, but no, it would be tough for him to make the weight, you know, to go up. I genuinely think that, you know, but he'll know that best, you know. And Junior, one thing I know about Junior, and let me tell you, 9 years working together, he won't listen to no one, right? So he will do what he thinks is best, and often in his career that's worked out best. So good luck to him.
Kalle, thank you very much for your time. Thanks for speaking a second.